Hi, this is Doc Hole from C-Bar 8 Saddlery here in Yukon, Oklahoma. I'm going to start doing some podcasts and some different little videos and stuff. But I'll start this one. I'm going to share it with a page or two on Facebook in the leather world. But for those of you who do floral tooling, that you see these dark black or dark dyed backgrounds before you antique. Many of you have tried to figure out a really good way to dye those backgrounds. Some of you may already know this, some of you may not, and this is for those that don't. Many of you take a really fine, will take a very fine haired brush, paintbrush, and dye those backgrounds by hand. And I'm here to tell you that that is the way of the past. It takes way too long. I've done it myself, and I've found a quicker, better, more efficient way. I've taken something, a piece, where it would make me take about 2 to 2.5 hours to dye the background by hand with a paintbrush, to doing it in about 20 minutes. So this is actually attempt number 3, because of the way I don't have a really good way to hold my phone so that you can see. So I have to put it in my little thing up over my head here, and the last couple of times I've actually got my head in the way. So I'm just gonna do this real quick, kind of show you how this works, and we'll go from there. But I'm going to take my hat off. I'm going to turn the video around if I can. I want to turn around. It's not going to turn around, so I'll just do it this way. Set this up here, my phone up there so you can see it. I'm going to focus on right here, but as you can see, I've dyed most of the background in this. I'm going to do a little bit here where it's not along the outside edge of my tooling. This pattern right here runs off the edge of where my border is, so I'm actually going to dye these little spaces right here. But basically what I use is I use a 5 milliliter, or what they would call a 5cc syringe. I've got a needle, fairly thin. In fact, you don't want it too thin, but you don't want it too big. If you get it too big, I'm not even sure what size this one is. I'd have to look on the package. But anyway, as you can see, I've made a slash cut. I've ground that on the end so that there's an opening, a slashed opening, and a point. If you can see that, you can see that there's a slash cut and a point. I've drawn the color of the dye into my syringe. Basically what you do is you go, we're going to go here, down, you take that point, and you go down here, in this corner, and maybe I can make me bigger. No, I can't. Alright, since I've turned it around, it won't let me do it. But anyway, so you can see here, if you'll take that syringe and just run along there, it actually will follow your tooling. You need to be really careful, because you can get a drop sometimes that forms on the end of the needle. So before you pick it up and carry that and take a chance of dripping that drop on your tooling where you don't want it, you might want to touch that. You saw that, see there was a drop on there. You want to touch that just a little bit, and it offloads that dye. And you can get down underneath your undercuts, and it's that easy. So anyway, really quick really quick tip. Basically, you just take that needle and go back in these corners carefully. You don't have to push real hard. And you can load those up like that. I don't know if you saw that or not, but hopefully you did. I'm trying to keep my head out of the way. And that. And eventually that'll all, it'll mellow out, it'll soak into the leather, it'll all kind of even up, and then there you go. I didn't want a lot of contrast in the background from the rest of it on the outside, because I am going to take dark brown antique gel from Phoebe's, and what I'll do when I get ready to actually antique this, it'll be on the saddle, and what I'll do is I will oil it, and I'll let that sit for a little bit, kind of mellow out. I'll oil it lightly, and it'll take some of that color, that dye, and darken the spots where the dye is, it'll be a little bit darker where the dye is as opposed to out here. And then what will happen is I'll let that mellow out, then I'll take my resist, and I'll resist it. And then after I resist it and let that dry, which my resist is I've got an old gallon jug of it's leather gleam protective finish, and it's basically it's a lacquer type finish. It'll seal it. Then I'll take my dark brown antique and I'll push that into my tooling, and I'll wipe it off with and get rid of it, the rest of the antiquing with a scrap piece of wool. Wipe all that off and it'll be done. So I'm going to show you another piece, what I'm talking about, so you can see. Mainly I just do the inner parts of the backgrounding that's inside the tooling pattern and not outside on the outside edge where there's not anything else touching it. So it would basically be the spots that you would filigree out if you were going to filigree it and cut those out and then back it with something to give it a contrast. But anyway, it's really simple. So what would have taken me probably 2 hours to dye all these little spots behind the background with a paintbrush, I just did it in about 20 minutes. So hopefully that'll help. Again, this is Doc Hole from Seabar Eats Saddlery in Yukon, Oklahoma. We gonna start doing some of these, tip, trick, instructional type videos where maybe it'll help you here and there. So keep your eyes out for future tips, tricks, and just helpful hints and that kind of thing. So we appreciate you watch. If you have any questions, feel free to private message me or whatever, and I will be glad to do whatever I can to help. I'm awful busy in the shop most of the time. So anyway, and I want to give a shout out thanks to big thanks to Don Gonzalez. This is a Don Gonzalez style pattern. I spoke to Don here a while back, early in the spring, and I had a customer come to me and said, "Hey, I really like these feathers." They were Don's pattern, a style of feather pattern, and I called Don up. Of course, he sells feather patterns and that kind of thing on the market, but I called Don up and asked him, and graciously asked him if it was okay if I could use his style of pattern on one of my saddles, and he said, "Absolutely, do your thing," and it was really cool. I really appreciate that, Don. Thanks. I hope I do your pattern, your style proud, and I appreciate it very much. My customer really liked this piece. This is going to be the Cadillac on a saddle I'm building for, on a saddle, one of two saddles actually I'm building for her. So we appreciate that, Don, and happy tooling, folks. This is basically, I guess, the first episode of In the Shop with Doc Hole at Seabar Distillery. So hope that helps. Have a good day. Bye.